We are talking about the dollar to begin with in business news this morning. Let's bring in Tyler Orton with business in Vancouver. And Tyler, we've seen a relatively strong dollar all summer. I understand you have new figures from Stats Canada showing the effect that it's had on tourism, especially from the U.S. What are those numbers showing us?
Well, I would say that Canada is getting a bit of a bump in the month of July, according to the new Stats Canada data, if only because we're celebrating our 150th birthday that month. But that was the month that we saw the Bank of Canada hike rates for the first time in 7 years. And that definitely had an impact on the loonie. If we look at the data from Stats Canada, we do see that overall number of trips to Canada from abroad went up 0.5% to 2 million people, 2.5 million people year over year. 2 million of those tourists, they were from the United States. So we saw a bump there, also 0.5%. Mexico, big bump there. Recall that visa requirements had eased year over year. So we had about 42,000 visitors come to Canada. I should say 28,000 visitors, and that represented a 42% hike. Europeans, we saw some dips in countries like Germany and the United Kingdom, so we did see an overall dip there. I would just keep our eye on what the September numbers are going to look like. That's when we saw the loonie go on its tear that it's on right now, because that's when the Bank of Canada raised rates for the second time in just a few months. That's having an impact on the loonie, and that'll have an impact on tourism as well.
All right. And also this morning, we are following news from Amazon that they are looking for a new headquarters. We talked about Vancouver possibly being the spot for that. But the question is, does Vancouver want to be in the running, and what the benefits might be? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, you know, at the Cascadia Innovation Quarter Conference last week, this was the talk of town down in Seattle about the prospects of Vancouver becoming even more of a sister city, with it hosting possibly HQ2, as Amazon's calling it. Heather Redmond, she is the founder of Flying Fish Partners, a venture capital firm based in Seattle. She pointed out that housing costs in Seattle have skyrocketed with the rise of tech giants like Amazon. And this will happen in Vancouver. Well, we're already dealing with high housing costs. The reason why is because salaries in Seattle have gone up exponentially with these high-paying tech jobs. So maybe that's actually a good thing to see salaries go up. Amazon is promising a lot of new grads six-figure sums to get into their engineering departments. So that would actually benefit the city of Vancouver as well. The asking price, though, is quite high. Amazon's essentially saying all prospective cities, why don't you just lay down before us with whatever incentives you would like? So I do wonder about things like tax rate cuts, as well as the greenfield sites that Amazon's looking for, essentially free land. We don't have much free land to spare here in Vancouver, and I think that's going to put a lot of strain on the city if HQ2 ever arrives here.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider there for sure. Tyler, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.